Can you imagine in like Comic Con in a couple of years' time, Peter Jackson walks out as the new head of the MECU, and he's like the Kevin Feige, and he's like, okay, so we've got this show coming up, and then we've got this series, and these are going to be all intertwined. And there was a part of me that was like, that sounds awesome. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. I can so imagine him just walking out wearing no shoes, no socks, and just like, yeah, so I'm the head of the MCEU. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Council of Elrond. I am joined with my brother Johnny, and it's good to see you back after this little hiatus, and I'm not sure when we'll see you again. yeah, it's good to be back. But on today's episode, we're going to be joined by a very special guest, Harry from Fellowship of Fans, and we're going to get into the whole deal with Embracer Group, Warner Brothers, what's going on there, who knows, does Harry know? We'll find out.
We're also going to Harry.
Yeah, please, because we brought you on for this specific reason. But also, we're going to be discussing some season 2 leaks of the Rings of Power, and maybe a little secret bonus thing at the very end of this episode. So let's get into it.
Forward to it. Yeah, let's do it.
So be it. You shall be the Fellowship of the
Fans! Right. Where are we going?
So, Harry, welcome back to the Council of Elrond. It's great to see you. How are you doing? We haven't seen you since we met up for a few pints in London that time, so it's good to have you on.
Good to see you.
Indeed. Thank you for boys having me on again. I'm really excited. And I've heard this is the first one in a while, so again, I'm honoured to be on this one as well. So yeah, I've been good since we met. Actually, it's been nearly 3 months now, so I've been quite well. So I hope you boys have been good.
Yeah,
we've been doing all right. Yeah.
Good.
You've been doing all right, and you're now you're probably a regular reoccurring guest on the show, since we don't have many others that have come on more than twice or 3 times.
We scared them all off.
Yeah, they don't want to come back. So thanks for coming back on.
No worries, you know.
Yeah, so let's get straight into it. We've had a lot of news over the last week or so about different things, such as, well, first of all, the Rings of Power Season 2 updates, but also the big news, which is the latest on Warner Brothers Studio striking a deal with the Embracer Group, which directly concerns new films set in Middle-earth, and this is what we're going to discuss first. So we've had a few requests from our listeners while we've been on our hiatus. They've been asking us to break down what's going on and take away any confusion, so I thought, why not go straight to the source, to the Fabrizio Romano, get Mr. Fellowship of Fans on to help us out, because frankly, I'm a little bit confused myself. So
we don't know what's going on.
So Harry, in general, just
that's what I'm here for.
What happened over the last week? Let us know.
So effectively, there was a deal since 1999, from the late 1990s, which was between Middle-earth Enterprises and Warner Brothers. But at that time, Middle-earth Enterprises, where it gets a bit confusing, was owned by the Solzance company. And they struck a deal, which was that Warner Brothers don't like own the rights, they get it leased to them. So how I like to explain it, it was like, it's kind of like a footballer going on loan to a different club. So they basically loaned the rights out to Warner Brothers. And that deal went on 20 years until recently, where there was a dispute between Embracer, who now bought Middle-earth Enterprises off of the Solzance company, and the dispute was whether Warner Brothers still had these rights anymore. And this went on for a bit. It got concluded recently, and the thing that I think a lot of people is getting under the radar is that this deal between them now is a new deal. So this is a brand new deal. The one before concluded, Warner Brothers concluded, okay, we do not have the rights anymore, we'll concede that. Now, can we look towards a new deal instead? And instead of going to, maybe Netflix, Disney, they decide, okay, we'll stay with Warner Brothers for this. But importantly, if you even read the press release, the difference between this deal and the one for the last 20 years, this is more of a partnership deal with Embracer. So basically, before it was just like, okay, Warner Brothers, you do what you want, you have the rights. Now it's, okay, Warner Brothers, you have the rights, but now we own the rights. So they're kind of like both owning the rights, and they're in partnership. So that is the difference between what's happened back then and what's happened back now. And importantly, with this deal, it cannot be a remake of The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit as well. And that's an important thing. It's primarily going to be spin-offs based off the movies or content in the books. And that is, and those books being The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I know you guys had a few funny memes around remakes of the trilogy. So yes, luckily that won't be. Those rights, finally enough, stay with Embracer. Technically, Embracer can still go down a separate avenue, but that's a long thing. And to get into the technicalities of this deal, it's a development deal of 3 years. So effectively, they have a partnership deal for this initial 3 years. If Warner Brothers get a sufficient amount of, in the development stage, if it's clear that they do have a plan going forward, then we reported that after 3 years, it can either be extended or Embrace can leave. But it can be extended before that period as well. Then another different source who actually confirmed our news, Puck News, they actually said there's a 3-year one, then there's a 10-year one. So it's like, again, I know I keep comparing it to footballers, but like it's kind of like, okay, you got an extension in your contract after 5 years, you can renew it or you don't need to renew it. And that's basically what it effectively is. And that's how it's working right now. We do know, I know another thing around Peter Jackson is that all we know right now is that he was kept up to date about the deals, and we don't know whether he's going to get involved as of yet or not. So I think that's about it up to this point.
Do you, when you said that basically now it's going to be a partnership as opposed to previously it was, I know it wasn't owned by Warner Brothers, but it was kind of like they were the ones that were in steering the ship. I'm not too sure I want to hear your opinion. What do you think it is now that you said there's kind of going to be a partnership? Sometimes you can think, a partnership is going to be good, there's going to be more stability. But sometimes you could think on the creative side, sometimes when you've got, too many cooks and all that kind of thing in the kitchen, I wonder what do you think, is that going to cause is that going to cause even more delays when they have kind of creative ideas and then there's another person saying, no, I don't like that. So I don't know, what's your opinion on that kind of a situation?
Well, following Embrace's history, they are mainly a company. First of all, they're a video game company. And second of all, with their rights, just like with Tomb Raider, they normally give it to the other companies to deal with, and we'll just, work with you on that. So I think it is a valid question and a concern. But I think luckily in this regard, there would not be really as much of an issue if they go. I think the only way there can be potential issue is if Warner Brothers wants to adapt something and Embracer might not prefer that. For example, something like The Last Alliance, because Embracer are on decent terms with Amazon right now, and they'd prefer that not to happen. So, but I think overall in the past, Embracer has a history of leasing and giving rights to other companies and mainly letting them do it with them. But the reason they wanted a partnership on this is because the whole dispute happened where Warner Brothers said, no, we own these rights right now because you've leased it onto us. You have to wait until the end of the contract, then we'll give it back. But in this new partnership, this time Embrace's own the rights from the get-go. So I think mainly it's less a creative thing, I think, and more factors kind of like collateral in a way, saying, okay, instead of this happening again, at least you now know that we also own part of these rights as well. So yeah, of course, that might change. Embracer might want to get more involved, but from track record, it seems like they've normally let the companies they work with go along with it, and this was more of making sure that this isn't happening going with Warner Brothers where they claim they own the rights, because by signing this deal, Warner Brothers admit, okay, we co-share them. It's a non-exclusive deal, which is another thing. So it's not exclusively to Warner Brothers; it's shared between the two.
Right.
It is a little bit confusing because we have Warner Brothers that owns New Line Cinema, I believe, or else they're working together, and they're the ones that have made a deal with Embracer Group, who own the company Middle Earth Enterprises. So it's actually Middle Earth Enterprises that have the rights to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and this is.
I don't think New Line own Middle Earth Enterprises. They're owned by Soulzance.
Right. Okay.
Then Soulzance sold them to Embracer. Embracer owned Middle Earth Enterprises.
Right. It is very confusing with all the different studios.
I've seen charts online of graphs of
I think
the
some
breakdown,
of them,
and some of them are just so confusing.
To break it down, I think just simply put it like this: Embracer, they own Middle Earth Enterprises. Tolkien Estate, they're independent. Amazon they worked with the Tolkien estate to get the TV series rights, and Warner Brothers worked with Embracer to get the movie rights. I think that's just simply
Right.
as it's put. The technicality here, Amazon bought MGM, which has some distribution rights to The Hobbit, and that's where the movies, and that's where the confusion gets in, and maybe that's what maybe
That's
was
right.
done online. That is the
So-
problem, but I don't think there's any Hobbit movies coming out in the future soon, so that's like more of a thing pushed to the side and be dealt on later. So yeah, primarily it's Amazon, Tolkien Estate. They have the TV series rights, but Embracer do have limited series rights, so they can make a standalone show under 8 episodes, which is formed as a limited series, which is quite interesting. But that's in coalition with the Tolkien Estate, so they have to work. That's why nothing's really happened with them. So
Right.
except from that.
Okay.
And it's important just to go back and point out what you said a moment ago as well to anybody listening that isn't sure, and to anybody that thinks, like the meme that we put out there the other day of, Lord of the Rings has no remake, Lord of the Rings needs no remake. There is not going to be a remake from this deal that we're speaking about now.
Yeah,
it is
it's-
not to remake the movies. It is to do, as you said, investigate new potential projects, spin-offs from movies or content, and they again have similar rights to what Amazon have, which is the rights to the trilogy book and the Hobbit book, including the what do you call it?
Appendices.
The appendices.
The
Excuse me. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Which
Yeah,
again,
j-
there's loads of stuff in there that they could use, and there's loads of little stories from the appendices that could be really, really awesome little, I don't know, TV series or movies or whatever. So that's really exciting.
It's interesting as well because it seems like Amazon kind of has the same rights. They have the rights to the Lord of the Rings, and which includes the.
It's good though.
appendices, and
Keeps
they're
Amazon on their
trying-
toes.
It does keep them on their toes, and it is probably good to not monopolize all of Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth content, so that there's two competing studios. So it does have to keep them on their toes. And I just want to piggyback on that last point that you just mentioned there, Johnny, how there won't be any remakes. And we have a quote from the Warner Brothers chairperson, Michael DeLuca. He said, "But for all the scope and detail lovingly packed into the two trilogies, the vast, complex and dazzling universe streamed up by J.R.R. Tolkien remains largely unexplored on film. The opportunity to invite fans deeper into the cinematic world of Middle-earth is an honour, and we are excited to partner with the Middle-earth Enterprises and Embracer on this adventure." So that's interesting. That kind of goes to show that they're already thinking outside the box and thinking of new movies, new stories to tell, all contained within Middle-earth. And for our listeners as well, you might have picked up on what Harry mentioned. Harry mentioned earlier that Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens, the Holy Trinity from the trilogies, the Holy Trinity from the trilogy.
The Holy Trilogy.
The Holy Trilogy, yeah. They're all coming, well, they're all on board, kind of. They're kept in the loop. I know Peter Jackson came out and he said something about how he knows everything that's going on. So we don't know if he's going to be a director, producer, maybe an actor again back in some of the movies. But it's good to know that he's attached. But I just wanted to ask you as well, Harry. I heard on your own live stream, you mentioned, somebody mentioned, I don't know, it was Ken, somebody mentioned that the fact that there's going to be the music from Howard Shore is going to be back allowed into these movies under these rights, I believe. So, which is a great sign, because we were kind of talking about it leading up to the Rings of Power, and yeah, there were some similar motifs, but they couldn't ever use exact, this is the Rohan theme, this is the Gondor theme. So
The Ring.
or the Ring, yeah. But I did want to ask, does that mean that these movies are going to be set in Peter Jackson's canon and in the style that he's created Middle-earth with over the 6 movies?
So, first of all, that's actually a good question. And Warner Brothers, they own the design, characters, and rights to everything that they've solely produced. So, and that includes the score, which of course is from the legend Howard Shore. So that is all owned by them. So they can, and if you even read in the announcement deal, it can be spin-offs based off the movies themselves. So it would still be in Peter Jackson's universe. Warner Brothers can, I guess, technicality, if they want to make a brand new, if they're doing spin-offs off the books, I really doubt it though. Like they start a whole new universe. It seems like everything Embracer and Warner Brothers are looking through spin-offs as stuff around the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. So it looks like it will definitely be in the same universe, and that would also mean that they can indeed use Howard Shaw's music. And based off that, the War of the Rohirrim that's coming out soon, I think, has a composer called Stephen Gallagher, who worked on The Hobbit, but he's only composed one thing. And I think it was like a sound mix or something, or sound something. So that is an interesting thing. But again, it shows that they are using stuff from the interconnected thing. So yeah, it is would to answer the question simply, it is they can and it will be back in the Peter Jackson universe.
Yeah, well, that's great because we already knew
Awesome.
about this War of the Rohirrim movie, which we heard was attached to Philippa Boyens and Peter Jackson attached to that? Yeah, or am I just
Not directly. I think he
The
gives
same
support
art
to Philippa
style.
Boyens. Yeah, same art
same
style.
art style? Philippa Boyens she's kind
Yeah,
of show running it, I think.
her daughter, I believe, is one of the writers.
Right.
Ah.
It's all interwoven.
Yeah.
But it's in that
interconnected.
same world,
the
and they're
impact,
using the
same world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got
Illustrators
Miranda
are the same.
Otto coming
John
back for
Howe,
Yeah.
isn't it John
And
Howe that's
Alan
involved as
Lee.
well? And Alan
And
Lee.
Alan
Are they
Lee,
both?
yeah.
that. Yeah.
They're both involved. Yes.
Both attached.
Yeah.
So we already knew that there was going to be a new movie coming out in that same kind of canon, same kind of world. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think this means for movies going forward? What kind of movies can we expect to see? There's been talk of young Aragorn. There's been talk of Angmar Wars. But what do you think?
Yeah. So I think the interesting thing here is with Zaslav's record, who if people don't know, he's the head of Warner Brothers, and where they might go with this. I know a few days ago the Star Wars comic came out around, when I meant this next Star Wars. And one thing basically meant by that is, how you had Solo, a Star Wars story, like movies in that regard. So I split up into two. It's I think it's either you go the safe route and do like the general character spin-offs, or you go down the other route and do events. I know, like you can categorize Young Aragorn like maybe it's an event, but it's basically a spin-off of a character. So events, I split up. It could be Angmar War. You can have the Kinstrife, which falls under the Gondorian Civil Wars over those many years. You can have Balin's Expedition, for example. These are, I think, more in a way more risky, but I think are technically, in my opinion, more interesting as well. But if they want to go the safe route, they'd go, let's do a Gollum spin-off original. We've already got a game, why not do another movie? Aragon, we could see him when he's in Rivendell, when he's during
The young Aragorn thing.
Yeah,
Wasn't that a plan originally, like a few years ago, to do some young Aragorn spin-off?
Young Aragon has been around since about 2006, 2007. I think this is thanks to Hen telling me this. Apparently, even when The Hobbit was being made, it was still an idea. Maybe before that we can do a Young Aragon movie. Then this is really preliminary, got rejected. Then Amazon heard a pitch, which ultimately got rejected for a Young Aragon show. And then now, it's popped up once again. But I think, again, that would fall under let's make make an Eowyn movie, let's make a Gandalf spin-off show, something like that. I think I'm more the safe, not sure, sorry, I mean movie. I think those are the more safe options. Then you've got the more because before Angmar War you could get a couple movies out of that. I think maybe two, and then you got more like big event and expedition ones, which you've got on the other side. I know people will be saying, okay, why can't we get the kinslaying? Why can't we get Beren and Luthien? Even though Beren and Luthien, even though I think it is mentioned when Aragorn recounts the poem, it's still, I don't think it's enough there. But then people saying we can't have first age stuff because that is owned by the Tolkien estate, and the Tolkien estate over recent years haven't had the best relationship with Warner Brothers. But of course that could have improved since. But as of right now, it's basically same for the third age. And for the second age stuff, with signing this deal, from what we understand, Warner Brothers basically agreed to the fact that they cannot compete or be in direct competition with the same plans Amazon are going with. So that basically means they cannot really adapt the Rings of Power and the Forging of the Rings events and the Last Alliance as well. So a lot of that in the second age is based off. But I think people saying, I think regardless, still they were probably going to look, close to their movies, the third age anyway. So yeah, that's how I split the two.
I think Balin's Expedition, as you mentioned a moment ago, that would be a really, really good one to go for. I think it would be a strong contender because, again, it's something that's relatable to people that have seen just the movies. For example, we know that we've heard Balin's name before. We see his tomb in the Fellowship of the Ring. We see the character from the Hobbit movies as well of Balin. So, and that's just a fantastic story as well. And of course, I think one of the things that the Rings of Power has been getting a lot of praise for is the way they've shown the dwarves. Everybody seems to just love the dwarves in the Rings of Power show as well. So I can't imagine that the love for dwarves is going to get any lesser over the next few years. So I think that would be a strong contender for a very, very good little movie idea. So that's one that I would love to see. I know a lot of people are speaking about the Angmar War as well, and again, that would be amazing. I don't know. There's loads of things that I've heard. I'm like, I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see that. I want to see that. So
whatever they announce, I'm just going to be like, yes, I will see that.
A problem that people don't know about Angmar Wars is more of a technicality, but we have Elrond in it, of course with Glorfindel as well. But Hugo Weaving, if it is going to be the Peter Jackson universe, he's already gone on record saying he doesn't want to do Middle Earth again. He wouldn't come back. And even if he did, he is pushing into his 60s. It'd be interesting to see how Elrond would have to cast a new Elrond for that. And it's only been basically a couple hundred years since before Lord of the Rings. So it's like how
300.
yeah. I think we could get over that. We could get over
they
that.
all say that. And sure, just look, they could just CGI him in. Look at Robert Downey Jr. Look at any Marvel movie. Come on.
Well, AI scale him.
Who's that actor from Star Wars that's dead and he's still showing up in movies? You know that the guy. I'm not sure the older gentleman who was like the evil commander.
Peter Cushing, who plays Tarkin.
Oh,
right.
The general.
The general,
on the Death Star,
on the Death Star, that guy. He definitely showed up in at least one or two movies after he
Grand
died.
Moff Tarkin. Yeah, he showed up in Rogue One, wasn't it? And that was years ago. That was before people had even mastered the technology. But whatever they announce, I'll be all there for it. But Harry, you answered a couple of my questions there, especially to do with the Tolkien estate and stuff, because that can be confusing. And why won't they just give us what we want? But last question to do with this: do you really think soon that we'll have a fully fleshed out Middle Earth cinematic universe at Comic-Con each year? We'll have the MECU, which could be weird.
Yeah, I think this is a question that I've been asked quite a lot as well, and I think it's, as I put it down, I don't think it's a discussion, or at least I think it's a valid concern, but I think it's a concern that we really need to worry about at least for the next 3. Well, I don't think we're getting any movies before 2027 at the minimum, and then I don't think right after that they're going to announce 5-6 new films. I think that could, if these films do well, I think from 10 years time and beyond that could be a general concern and where things could move to. But as of right now and for the foreseeable future, I think Warner Brothers, all that we're going to see is maybe them get maybe a couple movies under the belt, and a couple mean maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 at max, and then see how it goes on from there. I think people think the imminent nature of this, people think maybe, okay, movies are going to come in the next few years. It might still be a while. So even though that is a general concern of a Marvel cinematic universe, a Middle Earth cinematic universe, it's something that maybe come 10 years time could we start worrying about it potentially as a fear. But as of right now, I think for the foreseeable future is something that we can, if we got concerns, but I think there's bigger concerns right now than that we can push to the side. But that doesn't mean it's not a valid thing. So
now, when we immediately have heard, that's something that a lot of people have been speaking about online for a long time, and we've seen lots of memes of people creating the posters for the next phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of all these
Aragorn, Too Furious.
Yeah, but, Bard the Bowman, his own little spin-off and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And obviously it's a funny joke online, and if I was told that's actually going to be reality, it would freak me out, and I would get immediately very worried and concerned. But I think the way that the MCU has gone in the last year or so has definitely kind of shone a light on that. Just if you completely flood the market with just too much stuff all the time, it's not a good thing, and you need to kind of be more, quality over quantity. And I think that the MCU universe has learned that already. And so I think that if it did go to that in a few years' time, as you said, maybe 2027 or so, I think hopefully whoever is in charge of that will have learned of any mistakes that Marvel can kind of lead the way and make the mistakes, and then whoever follows in their footsteps could have a nice little sort of a path laid out for them to know what's good to do and what's bad to do. Also, just something that I saw online, I can't remember from somewhere on Twitter a couple of days ago. I was totally against the whole idea of the MECU, but then someone said, "Can you imagine in like Comic Con in a couple of years' time, Peter Jackson walks out as the new head of the MECU, and he's like the Kevin Feige, and he's like, okay, so we've got this show coming up, and then we've got this series, and these are going to be all intertwined." And there was a part of me that was like, "That sounds awesome. That sounds really cool."
Yeah. I can so imagine him just walking out wearing no shoes, no socks, and just like, "Yeah, so I'm the head of the MCEU."
Yeah, that is a thought, to be fair. So yeah, it's a conflicting thing, and I think, although it would be funny in that regards, it's still, of course, preliminarily we'd prefer not together. But I think even if you see the reaction to this news that's come out, and I think this is talked about a lot, but beyond the Tolkien community, the news hasn't been perceived that well. I don't think.
Oh, really?
And I think partly that is due to the fact I don't know why Warner Brothers have like come out with the Star Wars statement. You want to make it, Star Wars, and I think because it wasn't made clear enough that these are not remakes. And I think whenever you come to Lord of the Rings, the first things we saw with the TV show had the exact same thing, or might be a remake. Lord of the Rings needs no remake, and I think right now there's lots of misinformation and just general worrying right now. So I think maybe one one's even seeing this because a lot of that is coming with back here. Everything needs to be, everything needs a spin-off, everything needs this and that nowadays in Hollywood. It's the age of remakes. So everything like that is happening with the Lord of the Rings right now. So it'll be interesting. Maybe they're already off this feedback are seeing.
Yeah,
how
somebody called me up on it the last day when I shared that Boromir meme that says Lord of the Rings has no remakes, Lord of the Rings needs no remakes, and obviously it's just a joke. And somebody underneath tweeted something like, "This isn't funny. This is just horrible misinformation." I was like, "Bro, chill." Bro,
I think if they should know that if you guys post a lot of memes, it shouldn't be a problem if it's out. It's not out of character. It's just it's
exactly.
a joke.
And like
I would say 2% of our memes actually make sense.
Yeah, I think if we posted a meme like that, fair enough. I know people sometimes. I had it throughout the whole season when people misattributing so much stuff to us, but but with an account that is based off, fun and enjoying talking in that regard, don't see.
I did see you tweeting something like a couple of days ago saying something about how this is an opinion. I just want to make sure people know that because people do associate that with information and blah blah blah. But
we don't preface any of our memes or any of our statements on Twitter. I think we just go for it, and then we just deal with the backlash.
We preface information with like, "This is actual genuine, guys. Please believe us." But we mentioned the MCU there. I think they actually have talked about how they're going to pull out a little bit from oversaturating the market with all their TV shows and movies, which is good. And by the way, speaking of the MCU, this whole deals being struck with each other, it actually really reminds me of a couple of years ago when we were talking about Spider-Man, how Sony owned the rights to Spider-Man, and obviously Marvel have been trying to regain their characters back because obviously Marvel sold off all their characters in the 90s and didn't have access to X-Men and Fantastic Four, but obviously Sony got so popular with the Spider-Man because that was such a good character for them, so they actually ended up merging and creating a deal, like kind of a 3-year deal or a 3-movie deal, I think it was, for Spider-Man. And so that's a little bit similar to what's going on here.
Yeah, and do you know Amazon have a Spider-Man TV series coming out with Sony as well?
No way.
An animated one, I believe, yeah. So
no way. Wow.
Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, Spider-Man stuff isn't stopping there.
The Spider-Man of power. Well, anyways, that would conclude everything that we have to talk about concerning this whole deal. So I hope for all of our listeners that they're a little bit more informed, and thank you all very much for listening. Now, Harry, before you go, that's one half. I wanted to also just ask you, don't worry, this one won't be as long, but I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the Rings of Power. So the Rings of Power Season 2, there's been some news lately. There's been a little bit of news. Let's start with the confirmation that there's going to be a new character. I can't remember, is it Romy was his, or Rommel was his code name?
Rome, ROLM.
Rome, yes. So would you like to tell our listeners who's actually going to be introduced in season 2?
So yeah, we've been able to confirm that Navi, the dwarf, who helped build in allegiance with Celebrimbor, the Doors of Durin, he is going to be in the Rings of Power season 2. We don't know his act yet, but at least we know he is involved somewhat in the second season, which is quite exciting in my mind.
Excellent. Yeah.
Sound.
Johnny, you heard some of this news, did you? Or is this
Yeah.
exclusive to you? Yeah. What do you think?
No, I had heard. Yeah, I think I heard it from Harry from his channel, and yeah, it's very exciting news as well. I think that's. I mean, I don't like to get too in the weeds with news of stuff that comes out. You're more into that kind of thing. For me, again, I've said this many times on this show that I don't like.
Yeah.
Kind of almost spoiling stuff for myself. Not even it's not a spoiler, but just any information that I get. I'm just the opposite of you, Harry, where you're like, I need to find out all of the stuff. I'm like, I need to stay away from all the information. But I do kind of indulge every now and again when I hear a little bit of news. So and again,
feel
when it's
somewhere in
little
between.
small things like that, I'm like, oh, that's exciting, that's cool. Don't tell me any more. I'm just like, cool, that character's going to be there.
Don't worry,
That's
Johnny.
great.
Narvi
So,
dies in episode 3, anyways.
yeah.
Well, then, if we're not going to. So, to take away from season 2, another thing that you brought up on your own channel this week or last week, Harry, was the fact that there were a lot of scenes with Celebrimbor in Khazad-dûm, but unfortunately they were cut. These are scenes from season 1. So, would you like to explain why those scenes were actually cut?
So these scenes never actually got filmed in the end. Well, they did, but with Tom Budge. He was Celebrimbor for a bit, but then he was, from what we'd heard, he was, and what I've been able to see of the character. If you think, whether you have like opinions of Charles Edwards, trust me, Tom Budge is Celebrimbor. It's like, think of Hugo Weaving's forehead for Elrond, and think of like double that, and then I think it was blonde red hair. It's like, ooh, and
Right,
but
so you've seen this footage, have you?
I've seen
You
some
cannot confirm or
footage.
deny.
No, but I and a photo potentially of him, that near the identical scene of Celebrimbor entering
Khazad-dûm.
Khazad-dûm with Elrond, and in the show for the first season they had, it was just Elrond and Celebrimbor by himself, and it was a bit weird. But then in the footage I was able to see, they had like guards around them and everything, an accompanying host. So yeah, but then Celebrimbor got recast, and the number one problem that this show, I don't say problem, but the hardest thing about filming The Rings of Power is the scaling work needed between dwarves and elves in the Khazad-dûm steps, getting the dimensions right. And by the time Charles Edwards had come on board, doing that, it was not like, okay, a story thing. They don't want Khazad-dûm and Celebrimbor anymore. It was a technical thing. It's a technicality. So,
Well,
which is
I think
logistical.
I think there's some great news in that, because one of the well, there was a couple of problems obviously that we had with season 1, but one of them was the lack of Charles Edwards, and a lot of it was like, why, what's going on? That was also kind of weird when he just like randomly left at Khazad-dûm. We questioned that at the time. I think another thing was, I think Johnny, you might have brought it up, that it was weird just the two of them walking down and no one around, and it just seemed very random. It looked like they were out for a stroll, but you can understand now if, okay, they had to recast and they had to just like shoot this in a couple of days or whatever. It wasn't planned as much as it can now be planned for season 2 if they're going to go on a longer stroll. Maybe they'll have guards with them, and I don't know. I felt like this news was a bit uplifting, because you could see it is annoying that these technicalities get in the way and there's logistical reasons why some shots are left out, but I think that just bodes well for season 2, where it's not like they didn't think of these things. They actually did shoot these things, but with another actor. So yeah, I thought I found some positives in there. But yeah, what else we have? So
Can I jump in and ask a question that maybe
can, of
might
course,
be
my dear.
unrelated, but just a little story that I heard from a source that I won't name at the moment, and I think I want to just confirm it again, Harry. If you don't want to, confirm it or not on this show, I don't mind. But someone told me recently that it's regarding the character of Adar, and we know that he's been recast, and we know that Joseph Malway is not coming back. And I think that, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but I think the public statement was something that like they had parted ways, or it almost seemed that like Joseph himself had kind of almost wanted to duck out from the Rings of Power series. That's the impression that I got when I first heard it. Someone told me recently that that's not quite true, and maybe it was not even to do with his on-screen antics. It was more to do with his off-screen antics that they decided to part ways. Is that
so? When we first reported that this stuff with Joseph Morley offset, a lot of people got angry at us saying we were dealing in rumor and gossip. But then at the same time, I see if we're always reporting positive stuff about the show, if they want to do one negative thing, it starts to go in the rumor gossip thing. But from what we understand, it was just I'm not sure the source Johnny's on about, but from what we understood, it was mutually they parted ways. So it's like there was things on both sides, and they thought. I know one thing I know for a fact is that Joseph Marley did not leave the show because he watched the whole show and didn't like it. This decision was made in his head for about nearly a year. This was decided for nearly a year, and Joseph Marley, he is.
Is it true that he's a bit of a method actor and he just kind of stayed in the character of Adar all the time, and maybe that annoyed the people on set because Adar is a creepy guy, and then at the same time, for himself personally, just being in the mind of a character like Adar for such a long time, and the extended shoots during COVID and all that kind of stuff, that really kind of maybe caused him to not want to continue as well. Is that more or less?
So we reported that it was due to his more how on set he was. He's quite method, and sometimes it would be a bit intense. Was the quotes that we were getting? It's quite intense for some of the other actors, and they got on some of the wrong sides of the acts. But then at the same time, I think there's something about because he has hearing difficulties, and it was quite hard on set. And being able to act all this out when it's so loud, everything's happening. Because a lot of the time with other shows, it's more like on closed sets, but Rings of Power, it's so outdoors and stuff like that. Then he potentially, and then I don't want to go to hearsay and say that potentially could have been a reason that he felt that it was not the best environment for him to work in. If they were due to him not being able to hear properly. So at the end of the day, they both decided to let go. I know people saying, oh, maybe it was scheduling conflict difficulties. He's on a new show, I think, a Yellowstone's been for Apple TV or something. That's not even started filming yet. And so he could have easily filmed over the last 6 months. So yeah, it's an interesting thing around Adar. So it's a bit of both.
It's a massive shame, I suppose, because he was definitely one of the original characters that came across the best, and was definitely one of the standouts. But also when I heard that about just kind of being a method actor and staying in that character on set, it could definitely remind me of, I think a few people have done this when they were preparing for the role of the Joker. I know that obviously Heath Ledger
Joaquin
famously,
Phoenix.
but I heard mainly Jared Leto. I remember when he was preparing for it, I heard some stories of him being like a complete arsehole on set, and sending his co-workers or his co-stars like little gift packages with like dead animals or like
Dead
snakes,
rats,
or like sending them his own piss or something like that. Like, or
I
just
think he sent
weird
a used
stuff.
condom to Margot Robbie, which is very weird.
Like, I mean, so I was like,
Yeah,
you
no,
definitely
I-
don't
I-
want that
it's
kind of
becoming very
energy
unpopular.
on set. Like, yeah.
I don't. Again, at the same time, I think in defense of Joseph Marley, I don't think it was anything that extreme.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't want to attribute that to him. It was,
Sorry, I
think,
shouldn't
more
say
just- Yeah,
He would
getting
send
more
like a
into-
orc's head to somebody, or
that would be quite a just. But sending Morphy Clark just a lovely Lork's head, like here you go. But yeah,
something I killed this morning.
yeah, no. Joseph Molly, he's the limited, the lucky opportunity I've had to speak to him. He's a really nice guy. So, I don't want to attribute that to him. I think it's more just having to get into character. And it was like one thing I think we did here was like he'd almost choke himself to get into that character of throwing out how he was and like
wow.
stuff like that. So
A bit of a Jack Nicholson there for The Shining. Did you ever see him doing his warm up for his scene where he's just like axe, kill, murder, axe,
yeah,
kill, murder.
it's more stuff like that in that regard as opposed to
Yeah.
It must be really difficult for actors when they're playing those types of roles. If you know, as I said, like the Joker's a famous one, the complete psychopath, or like Jack Nicholson in the Shining. You need to really get into the mindset of those things, and maybe for your own mental health, that's just not a very good thing to do, and not a very comfortable thing to do. So it makes sense now hearing that why he, as an actor after a long period of time, would say, "Look, I need to step away from this role for my own mental health."
And generally, people are normally like the audience love. Well, maybe except from Jared Leto case, they normally love method actors. 'Cause they feel like Christian Bale, they really want to get into the role. They show dedication, but then normally actors around them normally don't really like. It's an industry thing where they don't really like. So yes, it's between the two.
That's a good point.
Absolutely. I was going to say that it's becoming very unpopular now amongst actors, just speaking out about it and saying, like, I just don't want to work with someone who's going to be obsessed all the time or just not coming.
I don't want to work with somebody who's going to be good, better than me. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, we've had, what's the name? Evan Peters in Jeffrey Dahmer, or Dahmer, the TV show. Which I haven't even finished. Johnny, I know you've watched it, but that's.
Well, I haven't heard anything about the actor that played that role. Did he?
No, I just know that I think he's gotten some awards for it, and I know he's done an incredible job, and that's such a mindset that you have to get involved or get into. But anyways, just before I let you go, there was a couple of other things that came out this week. So the new still images of apparently an elvish courtyard with a statue in the middle. First of all, I just want to say I couldn't help but find similarities between this and something that was buildable in Battle for Middle-earth 2. Whenever you have like the stables or something, you plop it down. It looks exactly like that little round courtyard. But yeah, some have speculated about this statue. First of all, I won't get into the actor who they speculated that it looks like. I'll let you do the honors. But first of all, what is with the statue, and what is the importance of the statue? Just let us listeners know.
Yeah, so it's come from a set that we've been able to like. I think it's come from users on Reddit as well I've been talking to for quite a while, and over the month we've followed this developing sets at Bray Studios, and now is what seems to be not confirmed in a Region set, and in the center is a character which people are thinking might be a statue of Feanor, the Jewelsmith himself. And there are lots of reasons why, but I'll go. I think firstly around the actor, people have. I don't want to give this credit to me. I think a lot of people on Talking Twitter were able to, fair enough, in a few hours, like put actors and characters face next to the statue, because we know season 1 of Finrod's statue, it looked kind of similar to the actor who I think Will Fletcher, who played Finrod, and they were able to put Will Keane as an actor. I think if you watch his Dark Materials, stuff like that, he was in that. Yeah, and people say maybe thinking he might be playing Feanor, which is quite interesting. He is in his 50s, but it could be a possibility. But the reasons why people think this is Feanor, he seems to be holding up Feanor's hammer, the one that we saw Celebrimbor have in episode 2 and showed Elrond. So that's one thing. Second of all, around it on the floor, around the statue, there's a circle, and there seems to be 3 circular objects and gems in 3 of them, of course, relates to 3 Silmarils. And I think the other thing was like he was holding a jewel in his other hand, which again could potentially a Silmaril. So
so it looks really cool, and the set looks absolutely fabulous. Well, I don't think I've ever said that before. Absolutely fabulous.
You say it all the time.
Yeah, maybe I do. Actually, there's probably recorded proof on these podcasts. Anyways, another absolutely fabulous actor who has joined is Will Keane, who you've just mentioned there. So I think because we've got this new actor in the show, there's been a couple of new actors announced by yourselves and by the official Lord of the Rings. It seems like people have looked at Will Keane's face and they've compared it to the statue, and they're like, oh, this could be him. And if the statue is Feanor, then we'd have to assume that we'd get Feanor flashbacks, because there'd be no reason for him to come in and just like pose as a statue when he's officially on the casting bill. So yeah, that's really cool. We could be getting Feanor in this show, guys. But other than that, I don't know. We have Narvi the dwarf, so we're probably going to get to see the doors of Durin being built, which will be absolutely fabulous. And,
well done, Dave. You managed to say the doors of Durin.
I know. Every time I'm like, the doors of Durin. Every time I have to slow down, but I'm learning fast. So that's pretty much all I have. Johnny, is there anything else you wanted to ask about season 2 of the Rings of Power or anything else?
Not really. No, I'm very full and satisfied with all the information that Harry's given us. So I think that's great. It's good to get an update as well. And as we said, it's great to chat to the man who is the first to break all the news in any of these regards, both in Rings of Power and on these upcoming movies that we're going to be getting in the next couple of years. So very exciting time to be a Lord of the Rings fan.
Yes,
Dave?
and before I do let you go, Harry, I have one last question. And that is Lord of the Rings musical? What is this about?
Yeah, so there was one in 2006 in England.
To rule them all?
Yeah, actually, it sounds like the opposite. 'Cause apparently, it wasn't that great. Someone who had
To ruin them all.
yeah, to ruin them all. Because I think someone then after I messaged someone and who had gone to it and said, yeah, it wasn't amazing. But yeah, there is now a musical that's going to be, I think, did they say May? I think later this year in the UK. Looks like it's open. Yeah, and it's an interesting thing. Is just I think it's more just like it's something that the Tolkien estate approves, so they are allowed to do it. So yeah, you got another musical coming, and it's from
Wow.
the Matilda. The best plays, I think, minus the old Shakespeare ones, are the Matilda ones. So it's got the Matilda person behind it. So maybe that might mean it'll be better than the one that was happened in 2006.
Yeah, exactly. It's being co-directed by Matthew Warchus, who worked on Matilda. I think he was the director on Matilda. I'm not really sure, but an open air performance in the UK. So there we go. That's the latest information.
We should go to that.
Yeah, we should. We should absolutely go to that. That'd be fun, actually. Yeah, maybe that's where we can have our next event whenever they release the tickets. So yeah, that's all we've time for. Harry, you're a busy man. You're off doing all your journalism, so we won't keep you any longer. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, and it's great to see you again, and hopefully we'll see you in person.
Indeed. Now again, thank you for having me on again, and I hope after this episode you'll have many more episodes coming out now around to your Council of Elrond show as well. So yeah, I'll be looking forward and I'll be catching up on them. So again, thank you for having me on, and yes, we should get together soon in the summer again with Robert and the others.
For sure, let's do it. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant.
Stupid fat hobbit.
So it was great to have Harry on there, and just before we finish up, there was some other news that came out recently that I'm sure the whole world saw. But Johnny, we've got I was about to say first ever, but no, that's not true at all. But we've got a giant new Lego set, the Lord of the Rings Rivendell set, and it is filled with 15 character minifigures and authentic details that reveal themselves as you build. This is a Lego statement. This epic set lets you recreate favorite scenes and watch new stories unfold. So I'm sure you've seen this because we shared it on our own socials. So yeah, of course you've seen it. But what do you think? Is it cool? Is it worth? It's $500 at retail. What do you think about that? Is it worth it?
I saw that price. I wouldn't pay it, to be honest. I wouldn't pay $500, but I could imagine. Now, are they? I know that they've broken up into like 3 main units. Are they selling those units separately, or is it that's just for?
No,
because it's so massive. They're selling it all together. Is that right?
It's big, yeah. No, but it's all together as one big set. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying it's one big set, but there are 3. They've designed it so that it can be separated into 3, and you can put one piece in like one little display cabinet, and then you can so you have the ability, because most people don't have space to display this one monstrous set, and which is so cool. But I mean, if I collected Lego, it would definitely be something that I might think I'm gonna invest in that. But I mean, I'm sure maybe if you wait a couple of years, the price might drop down a little bit as well, and then it might be more inside my budget of things that are stupid splurges that I don't even have the space in my house to actually display something like that. So for me, it'd be a big splurge, build it, play with it for a couple of hours, and then like just knock it down again. So definitely wouldn't really be worth it for me in my current house. So but I don't know, never say never. If somebody
Yeah.
wanted to treat us to it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Maybe let's pop this onto our Patreon requests and let's see what happens. But yeah, in case anyone doesn't know about this, first of all, go check out the images. They're really cool. This is my childhood dream, but it's a massive, whopping 6,167 pieces, and it includes. And I just wrote some of these down from what I saw. It has Frodo's bedroom scene after the Morgul blade stab. It has Boromir picking up Narsil's shard whilst Aragorn has a book, which is kind of cool. It's got the forge for Narsil. It's got Bilbo's room where he's writing his book, where he wants to finish his book. It's got Arwen's outdoor... I wrote down chaise longue. Is that how you pronounce it? You know, those like French chairs that you just lie in? I can't remember how it's supposed to be pronounced. Or chaise longue.
Yeah. The chalon, I think that's
Chalon.
what they have, like when you have an L-shaped couch, very often the L part, they call it the chalon.
Right, okay. So, and we have that. We have the Elven Bridge where Aragorn and Arwen kiss, and many, many other little secrets. So, yeah, guys, go check that out. I definitely really want to get my hands on it, or at least play with it for a little bit, or even just the minifigures. But I thought that was really cool. So
I'd actually, the minifigures just then on their own even would be so cool. I'd love to just have
So cool.
a little, like, you know, mini Aragorn or Gandalf or Sam just like in random places around my house, just looking out for me, you know?
Exactly. Keep them in your pocket, in your pockets. Keep them secret.
Keep 'em safe.
Keep them safe. Right, so
Very
guys, that concludes the end of this episode. I'm sure you had a great time listening to us and Harry, more importantly. So thank you.
We're
great.
great.
We are great, aren't we? We're just the best. So thank you all so much for listening. Please go check us out on YouTube, all of our socials. We've got Twitter, we've got Instagram. I think I'm going to start working on putting out some TikTok, so go check us out over there too. And
Do a little dance.
yeah, we'll do a little dance. We'll do whatever you want to see us do. But also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, because we need to build up some subscribers there. But also check us out on Patreon as well if you want to get some behind the scenes of upcoming Star Wars shows, The Last of Us, House of the Dragon, everything like that. And yeah, that is Elfin. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you
Goodbye.
later, guys.